Welcome, everyone, to today's deep dive. Before we jump into the sources, I really want to take just a brief moment to offer a heartfelt divine blessing for your day and, well, for the entire week ahead. May your path be guided, your mind be clear, and all your endeavors be incredibly fruitful.
Thank you. Yeah, it is an absolute privilege to be here unpacking this material alongside you today.
Awesome. So I want you to imagine for a second that you are like the most celebrated hero in your entire country. You're a total household name.
Right, everybody knows who you are.
Exactly. Your victories are legendary. But there's one massive, glaring problem. Your own king is violently paranoid and, well, he wants you dead.
A pretty stressful situation to be
Just a bit, yeah. You are completely out of places to hide in your homeland. So what is your only realistic chance of survival? You pack up literally everything and you walk straight into the capital city of your nation's fiercest, most hated enemy, and you just beg their king for a job.
It sounds completely like fiction, but that is exactly what we're looking at today.
It really does. We are diving into 1 Samuel today, specifically chapter 27. We are leaning heavily on the extensive historical context provided by the Holman and NAA study Bibles, to understand what might be the most fascinating geopolitical masterclass in survival and espionage you will ever come across.
Oh, absolutely. We are looking at David, the future king of Israel, right, making this completely unthinkable defection to Philistine territory.
Defection is such a loaded word, too.
It really is. I mean, defection is often painted in these broad strokes as an act of cowardice or, ultimate surrender. But when we analyze the layers of this specific text, we are actually looking at a highly calculated strategy executed under just impossible pressure.
Right.
David essentially reaches a mathematical conclusion here. Remaining in Israel under King Saul's pursuit yields a 100% probability of death. Leaving is literally the only variable that offers a chance at life.
And he doesn't just, slip across the border under the cover of darkness with a hooded cloak. The text paints this incredible, almost cinematic picture of a massive migration.
Oh yeah, it's not a stealth mission.
Not at all. He brings 600 battle-hardened men. He brings all their families. He brings his 2 wives, Ahinoam, the Jezreelite, and Abigail, the widow of Nabal the Carmelite. You have to visualize the sheer scale of this move.
It's massive.
We are talking about hundreds of warriors, women, children, and just this massive baggage train kicking up dust as they march right up to the gates of Gath, which is a major Philistine city. And King Achish of Gath looks at this approaching army and decides to actually grant them refuge.
Yeah, and we really have to examine the political psychology governing Achish's decision there. He is operating on basically the oldest geopolitical axiom in the world. The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Right, classic strategy.
Exactly. Achish knows perfectly well who David is. He knows David is Saul's most capable rival. So by bringing David inside the tent, Achish genuinely believes he is acquiring a devastating weapon against Israel.
Wow, so he thinks he's getting the ultimate prize.
He does. And furthermore, the study notes highlight a massive shift in David's power dynamic here. He stops being a desperate, cave-dwelling fugitive the exact moment he arrives with a private army.
Because he has leverage now.
Exactly. He is negotiating from a posture of institutional strength. He transforms instantly from an anonymous outcast into a recognized vassal of a foreign king.
Let me try to put this into a modern corporate context for you. Imagine a brilliant, high-profile executive at a massive tech conglomerate.
Okay, I'm with you.
And the CEO just becomes completely unhinged, right? Trying to destroy this executive's career, burying them in legal threats, cutting off their server access, all of it.
Yeah, totally toxic situation.
Right. So this executive doesn't just quietly resign and update their LinkedIn. They defect to their fiercest, most hated corporate rival.
They walk right into the rival's headquarters.
Exactly. But they don't come alone. They bring their entire 600-person elite engineering team.
And all their families.
Yes. Families, benefits packages, ongoing projects, everything. And they just say, hey, we work for you now. It is a stunning power play. But I am genuinely stuck on the logistics of this ancient scenario.
It's a lot to manage.
It is. Bringing 600 families into the heart of a hostile enemy capital feels incredibly reckless. I mean, how do you feed them? Where do they sleep? In a hostile city, doesn't bringing wives and children just create this massive vulnerability?
Well, the logistics of feeding and housing maybe 2,000 people in a foreign city are definitely daunting. But we have to look at this through the lens of ancient Near Eastern society.
Okay, how so?
In that world, an isolated individual had zero rights and absolutely zero protection. You were basically prey. By bringing a fully functioning, self-contained community, David becomes an entity that Achish actually has to respect.
That makes sense.
And those families, while seemingly a vulnerability, actually serve as the ultimate collateral.
Wait, collateral for Achish, you mean?
Yes, exactly. Achish is looking at these 600 hardened killers and wondering if they are just going to, slit his throat in the night and take his treasury.
Right, which is a fair concern.
A very fair concern.
Mm-hmm.
But he looks at the wives, the children, and the livestock, and he realizes David is putting down roots. A solo mercenary might strike and vanish, but a man with a family has to build a life. It signals a total commitment to the defection.
Okay, I see how the families act as an anchor, proving David's commitment. But being anchored directly beneath the unblinking gaze of a powerful foreign king presents a terrifying new problem. David has asylum now, sure. And King Saul actually stops hunting him once he crosses the border. The text says Saul literally gave up the search.
Which was the immediate goal, yeah.
Right, but David knows he is essentially living in a gilded cage. He is sharing a city with a king who is watching his every move, monitoring who he talks to, and probably constantly evaluating how to use his men. David realizes he needs physical distance if he is ever going to execute his own agenda.
And the pivot David makes here is just a masterstroke in managing up.
Managing up, I like that.
Yeah, he approaches Achish and adopts this posture of extreme humility. He essentially asks, "Why should your servant live in the royal city with you? Give me a place in one of the country towns."
So he's framing it as a favor to the king.
Exactly. He frames his presence in Gath as an unearned burden on the royal court.
Which translates in reality to, please put me somewhere where you can't micromanage me. And surprisingly, Kish goes for it. He grants David the city of Ziklag.
He does.
Now, the study notes provide some really crucial geographical and historical details about Ziklag. It was originally assigned to the Israelite tribes of Simeon and Judah centuries earlier, but they had never successfully conquered it. It was this rugged borderland.
Yeah, a very tough area.
And the notes point out that because of this specific grant from Achish, Ziklag officially remained the property of the kings of Judah long after these events. David and his men stay there for a very specific time frame, 1 year and 4 months, right around 2012 BC. But the detail that really jumps out the most is the distance.
The 40 kilometers?
Yes. Ziklag is roughly 40 kilometers away from Gath.
And 40 kilometers in the ancient world is a profound distance. It is at least a full day's hard march. That creates a massive, massive buffer zone. The notes explain this land grant through the lens of feudal practice. Kings giving land to vassals in exchange for military service and loyalty.
Right. Standard ancient politics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But David's primary objective was operational independence. Ziklag was uncultivated and harsh. David's men were rugged survivalists. They were accustomed to the wilderness, not the refined, heavily monitored life of a Philistine capital.
They wouldn't fit in at the royal banquets anyway.
No, not at all. So by securing this 40-kilometer buffer, David creates a huge delay in communication and surveillance. He is completely off Achish's daily radar.
Think about how you manage your own career, right? This is the ultimate remote work strategy.
Oh, absolutely.
You ask your boss if you can work from a satellite office or transition to a work-from-home model, and you pitch it as a benefit to them. You tell them, hey, I don't want to take up expensive desk space at the prestigious headquarters. I'll save you overhead.
But the hidden motivation is entirely about autonomy.
Exactly. You want to get out from under the microscope so you can set your own schedule and run your own projects without constant oversight. But I have to push back on Achish's intelligence here for a second.
Go ahead.
We are talking about a seasoned Philistine ruler. You don't hold on to power in the ancient Near East by being gullible. Why would a smart, paranoid king let a private army of 600 Israelite mercenaries move a full day's march out of his sight? Didn't he suspect this was just, I don't know, a little too convenient?
It's a great question, but Achish's decision makes perfect sense when you analyze his psychological blind spots and his strategic needs at the time. Achish likely viewed the cultural differences as his ultimate security guarantee.
Meaning he looked down on them.
Yes. He is looking at David's men, people who have literally been living in caves and scratching out a survival in the desert. And he genuinely believes they are completely unsuited for the sophisticated capital of Gath. Plausible deniability is baked right into the request.
Ah, so he buys the we're just humble country folk routine.
Hook, line, and sinker. Achish thinks, let's put these rugged, uncouth mercenaries on the frontier where they belong. By placing them in Ziklag, Achish believes he has secured a free border patrol, protecting his southern flank from desert raiders.
He thinks he's getting free security.
Exactly. He thinks he is exploiting David, completely failing to realize he has just handed David the exact cover he needs to operate a shadow campaign.
Which brings us to the reality of that shadow campaign. Because the autonomy of Ziklag wasn't about finding a quiet place to raise sheep, was it? Getting away from the king's watchful eye created a power vacuum out in the desert.
It certainly did.
What do 600 hungry, restless mercenaries do when no one is watching? The sources tell us that David immediately begins launching aggressive military raids, and he targets ancient, non-Israelite inhabitants, the Geshurites, the Girzites, and the Amalekites.
Right, indigenous desert groups.
And the notes describe these groups as living in the region, extending towards shore, all the way down to the border of Egypt. And here's where we really have to look at the chilling mechanics of what David actually does. His tactic is absolute total war.
It's uncompromising.
He leaves 0 survivors. Not a single man or woman is left alive in these settlements. He systematically wipes out entire communities and takes immense spoils: sheep, cattle, donkeys, camels, and clothing. Then he basically wipes the blood off his sword and heads back to Gath to check in with his boss.
Yeah, the sheer violence of these raids is incredibly jarring to modern sensibilities, and the sources provide important theological and historical framing that we really have to unpack here.
Yeah.
The study notes clarify that these specific groups, the Geshurites, Girzites, and Amalekites, were deeply entrenched historic enemies of Israel. The texts frame this within a divine decree of judgment dating back to the days of Joshua.
So there's a long history of bad blood there.
A very long history. These groups were viewed as an existential, persistent threat to Israel's survival. So the narrative presents David as acting as a divine instrument, fulfilling a historical mandate against these ancient foes.
But beyond the historical mandate, there is a cold, calculated operational reality to leaving no survivors.
Completely. The strategic reason for the lack of survivors was absolute information control. If you leave even one person alive, that person can make the 40-kilometer trek to Gath, demand an audience with King Achish, and report exactly who David is actually attacking.
Right, dead people cannot tell tales.
Exactly. The total annihilation was a brutal, mechanical necessity for maintaining his cover story.
It is the most intense, high-stakes operational security imaginable. It makes you think of, like, a dark intelligence thriller where a spy is deep undercover with a cartel.
Oh, that's a perfect comparison.
The spy has to conduct a no-loose-ends operation, eliminating every single witness and basically burning the building to the ground just to preserve their cover identity with the cartel boss.
But I want to sit with this friction point for a second because it's so striking. We are so accustomed to the cultural image of David as the righteous shepherd boy, the poet who wrote the Psalms, the hero who fought Goliath. The idealized version. Right. But this operational security is ruthlessly systematic. He is annihilating entire communities to protect a geopolitical lie and to basically fund his exile. How do we reconcile this level of bloodshed with his historical and religious image? Well, we have to hold both realities simultaneously, just as the source text does. Our role is to impartially report what the texts convey, and they do not attempt to sanitize this period of his life at all.
They really don't hold back.
No, they don't. The study notes present David in a highly dualistic light. Yes, he is portrayed as the anointed future king fulfilling historical judgments. But the text is equally clear that he is a desperate, cornered survivor managing a private army.
An army that needs to eat.
Exactly. He has to secure provisions for 2,000 dependents in a hostile desert. The sheep, camels, and clothing he takes, that is the payroll for his mercenaries. He is literally funding his exile through total war. The text forces the reader to confront the muddy, violent reality of ancient survival.
And the most incredible part of this survival strategy is the psychology of group complicity. I keep thinking, how do 600 men and their families keep a secret of this magnitude?
That is the big question.
They are bound by mutual survival. If one mercenary gets drunk in a tavern in Gath and slips up, Achish kills all of them.
The stakes are total annihilation for them, too.
Exactly. The shared burden of this massive cover-up becomes the glue that holds his army together. Because the ultimate goal of eliminating all those witnesses was to construct a completely fabricated narrative for King Achish. The violence in the desert was merely step one of a much larger psychological manipulation.
He controls the flow of information completely. Because there is no external evidence to contradict him, David is free to write the script. He basically weaponizes Achish's own desires against him.
So, when David returns to Gath, hands full of plundered wealth, King Achish naturally asks, "Where did you raid today?" And David looks him directly in the eye and delivers this meticulously crafted lie. He claims he attacked the Negev of Judah, the south of Judah. He also claims to have raided the Jerahmeelites and the Kenites.
Which is just a brilliant tactical lie.
And Achish swallows it whole. He concludes that David has made himself utterly abhorrent to his own people. Achish literally says to himself, "Israel must hate him now, so he will be my servant forever."
The genius of David's lie lies in the geographical and tribal specifics. The study notes break this down so brilliantly. The Negev refers to the arid southern region near Beersheba. The Jerahmeelites and the Kenites were not enemies of Israel. They were actually vital clans that were highly sympathetic to and deeply integrated with the tribe of Judah.
Wait, they were David's own allies?
Precisely. They were his friends. By claiming to slaughter Judah's allies, David is feeding Achish exactly what his confirmation bias demands. Achish desperately wants to believe that David is burning every last bridge with his homeland, ensuring his permanent loyalty to Philistia.
He's giving the boss the exact report the boss wants to see.
Yes, but the reality is the exact inverse. By secretly wiping out the Amalekites and Geshurites, Israel's actual enemies, David is systematically eliminating future rivals and securing Judah's southern border. He is secretly acting as the protector of Judah, all while using the stolen livestock to convince Achish he is destroying Judah.
It is the ultimate double agent scenario. Imagine a spy planted inside a hostile financial firm. They are handing their boss heavily doctored spreadsheets that appear to show them actively destroying their old company's market share.
Right, driving them into bankruptcy.
And the boss is thrilled, thinking, "This executive is entirely ours now. They can never go back. They've ruined their reputation." But in reality, the double agent is quietly funneling capital and resources back to their old allies, paving the road for a triumphant return. The boss is literally subsidizing the very person who is going to destroy them.
It's audacious.
It is. But I keep coming back to the sustainability of this lie. The sources say this lasted for a year and 4 months.
16 months.
That is 16 months of hiding massive, bloody raids from a king who lives only 40 kilometers away. You have merchants traveling, you have rumors spreading, you have 600 soldiers who know the truth. This feels like a house of cards that was destined to collapse. Was this truly a sustainable long game, or was David just incredibly lucky that the clock ran out before he got caught?
The tension you are describing is exactly what makes this period so remarkable. Was it sustainable indefinitely? Absolutely not.
It couldn't be.
Right. 16 months is an eternity to maintain a flawless intelligence blackout across a massive desert region. Eventually, a survivor would have escaped, or a Philistine patrol would have stumbled across a recently raided Amalekite village.
The odds just catch up with you.
They do. The brilliance of David's strategy wasn't in creating a permanent lie, it was in exploiting Achish's psychological blind spots for exactly the required duration.
He weaponized the king's arrogance.
Yes, beautifully put. Achish was blinded by his own strategic greed. He wanted a legendary Israelite warrior as his permanent vassal so badly that he refused to scrutinize the evidence. He saw the captured sheep and clothing, and he didn't look closer to see where they really came from.
Because sheep just look like sheep.
Exactly. David didn't need this house of cards to stand forever. He only needed it to hold up until the political situation back in Israel fractured, which, as the later texts reveal, is exactly what happens.
He just needed to survive the exile. And he did it by hiding in plain sight, using the enemy's resources to build his own strength and protect his own people. Which actually leads to a really fascinating implication drawn from the study notes, something that isn't explicitly stated but hums quietly in the background of this entire narrative.
Oh, the technological advantage.
Yes, we have talked about the geography, the raids, and the deception. But there is a massive technological layer to what was happening during those 16 months.
The systemic immersion into Philistine culture.
Think about this. For a year and 4 months, David and his elite commandos were fully embedded within the Philistine system. Historically, the Philistines were a technologically dominant society, particularly regarding metallurgy and military organization.
They were basically the superpower of the region.
Right. Earlier chapters in 1 Samuel actually detail how the Philistines held a strict monopoly on blacksmithing. They literally wouldn't let the Israelites have blacksmiths to ensure they couldn't forge swords or spears.
They controlled the supply chain of iron, making them the premier military machine of the ancient Near East.
So consider what is actually happening in Ziklag and Gath. David isn't just hiding, he is observing. He is living inside the enemy's military-industrial complex.
He's taking notes.
He is seeing how they organize their battalions, how they manage their supply chains, and he is getting a first-hand look at the secrets of their iron weaponry. So here is a thought to leave you with, something for you to mull over long after we sign off today. Did this desperate, seemingly hopeless period of defection actually serve as a covert training ground?
That's a profound question.
Right. By embedding himself in the Philistine system, did David acquire the precise, inside knowledge of their military apparatus that he would later use to utterly dismantle them when he finally became king of Israel?
It radically changes how we view periods of exile. What appears to be a desperate retreat was, in reality, a masterful infiltration.
It is an incredible shift in perspective. You look at a life that seems shattered by impossible pressure, forced into hostile territory, and you think it is a dead end. But when you look closer through the lens of Ziklag and those hidden 16 months, you realize the detour was the training ground. The skills acquired in the darkest exile became the exact tools needed for future leadership.
Absolutely.
It is a powerful reminder for anyone navigating their own complex landscapes. When you feel sidelined or forced into unfamiliar, hostile territory in your own career or life, you might just be gathering the intelligence you need for your next massive leap forward.
A great point to end on.
Definitely. Well, we want to thank you for joining us as we unpack this incredible historical case study in strategy, survival, and information control. As we sign off, I want to leave you with this final thought. May God bless all of you, the listeners, as you go about your week. Until next time, keep looking beneath the surface and keep diving deep.